A third of the way through the regular season and still plenty of playoff spots left to go around, we head back to another super speedway for the Amateur Cup Series drivers to see who can pick the best draft and get to the front and claim the playoff position. This is the Massachusetts 300 here at 8 Bull Super Speedway. Hello again everybody, my name is Colin Denton, excited to bring you more NFRN Amateur Cup Series racing. It's been quite a while since we've had the last NACS race. Since then we've had the All-Star Race in the Elite Cup Series, the Green Valley Super Speed Ring race, as well as a doubleheader at Twin Ring Motegi, but none of the Amateur Cup Series drivers, at least in full, taking part in those events up until today. Now we get to see who's going to be the next to claim their playoff spot. We've got Donnie Moore, Wayne Calloway, Chris Harley, and John Gilbert currently locked into the show, holding the top 4 positions in the standings. And now we get to see who's going to be the next one to claim the trophy. Well, it would be a very intensified part-time race this time around. Tyler Reed, after getting the points lead at Twin Ring Motegi, is going to have the lead to start off this race. They get very wide on this racetrack. Hunter Cox and Ross Kissman up in the very high lane. But Jasper Ells is going to turn Cox in the middle of turns 1 and 2 and cause a multi-car accident in the middle of this race. That would bring out the caution. Ross Kissman would be the only one that would actually drop out. The rest of the field would stay on, but that wouldn't be the last time we'd see an accident. Barry Watson making contact with Clint McComb, last week's winner. Seems like he was on his way to a spot, but a little bit of contact right there. Not sure if he's going to be too happy about that, because that's going to drop him from this race. Adam Kuhn is going to be able to take it to the white flag and eventually the checkered. And Ryan Parsons in the 07 car going to be the final one that crosses the line in order to make the race. Coming into today's race, Adam Kuhn, Dylan Nexton, Kevin Knight, Barry Watson, Mike Simpson, Ryan Parsons, all making the show. Carter Friesen, 9th in what I believe is his first attempt to make the Elite Cup Series races. McComb falls back to 11th, Steve Ray to 12th. And Tyler Reed, the points leader, in 13th. Well, it's been a few weeks off, but it's time to get back to racing. Let's send it down trackside and get starting command for today's race.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, Executive Director of the Green Sports Alliance, Justin Zellner.
Drivers, start your American ethanol-powered engines!
A beautiful sunny day today for a 30-lap race. And now let's take a look at the starting grid to see who's going to lead them off. The Grand Detour winner, John Gilbert, in the number 31 Mobile 1 Dodge, is going to lead the field to the green for today's race. And Jacob Rose in the number 16 Lilly Diabetes Ford Mustang is 17th in points and starting on place number 2. In row 2, we have a pair of drivers that only have one finish inside the top 20. That's Harris Arvin Alonso and Austin Rogers. In row 3 is Kyle Bisceglia, who has a best finish of 20th at Columbia but has been falling every race. And Ray Chapman, who's the spot behind him in standings. Row 4 has the Pikes Peak runner-up, Griffin Lynn, and the Columbia winner, Donnie Moore. In row number 5 is Shane Borland, who's looking for his first top 10 since Columbia, and Justin Roback, who's recovering from 2 41st place finishes in the first 4 races. Row 6 has the very consistent AJ Jones, and Joey Radcliffe fighting for a top 14 spot. In row number 7 is Anthony Lopez, the final practice leader, and Barry Watson making his 5th part-time race. In row 8 is Connor Mays, who has 2 runner-up finishes this season, and Chase Baldwin, currently last place in full-time points, and looking to see if he can pick that up today. Row 9 has Ryan Kendall, who has several finishes just outside the top 10, but looking for his first today, and Eric Van Arsdale trying to recover from his last place run at Grand Detour. And in the 10th row, Chris Harley, your picks Cliff winner, and TJ Smith with 3 top 15 finishes this season. And you'll see the rest of the starting order going across the bottom of the screen. And this really could be a race that anyone could win. It operates just like Super Speedway, 2.5 mile figure 8. With the median crossing over one another. We're going to see what happens to Jake Thomas. He's obviously on a race probation for an incident at Grand Detour. He's going to start in the very back because he had a problem with qualifying. Hit the curb, ran up the racetrack, and turned a slow lap. So he's going to have to fight from the back, but we're going to see if he can survive what could be a wreck-filled race as we have seen in some of these other super speedways. Last week's winner, John Gilbert, starting on the point and trying to see if he can pull off another victory. Take his standing from 4th to 1st and get some bonus points in time for the playoffs. Coming down to the start-finish line, the green flag flies, and we're racing at 8 Bowl. Three wide in some parts of the track. Coming into the next corner, and it looks like it's 4 wide even further back. They can run that wide, but it's a matter of how can they stay off each other and not cause a big crash. John Gilbert got a good jump, but now he's got caught underneath, and he's on the high side. Trouble! Ryan Kendall up and over. Chris Harley, your points leader, involved. Oh, and Adam Kuhn taking a wild tumble down into turn... the exit of turn 2. Oh, Justin Roadback, Mike Simpson, they're both kind of damaged further down the racetrack. Robert Harrison crunched up. Major front end damage to the 91 car. Dwayne Calloway also involved. That's 2 of your winners this season, at least. Andy Coleman, he hasn't been having a great season so far. Jake Thomas is going to get involved in that. We talked about him trying to avoid getting in trouble from that last starting spot. Ray Chapman might have gotten some contact there. He's going to take it straight on the pit lane, try to get that repaired. See Shane Borland. He's got some rear end damage. So that is going to be our first caution. Austin Rogers is able to get to the lead at the end of lap number 2. Let's take a look at the replay and see what happens here. Now, Ryan Kendall was the one we saw going over, but it looks like he's got awkward contact on Anthony Lopez in the draft. He's on his left rear quarter panel, and I think there's just going to be so much contact that Lopez can't handle. 75 is going to turn down into the 49. They're going to hit. And then Kendall, I believe the banking is what's going to turn him over as he makes contact with Jack Freeman. Harley just comes right back up the racetrack, and that's what's going to spin him, but Lopez makes a great save. Dylan Lexton with a hard hit to the outside. Jay Jefferson, TJ Ball also involved, and Kenny Knox might have gotten some slight contact there. You see Robert Harrison there. He's getting away, but there might be some contact with Noah Kim. We'll see again on another replay. Dwayne Calloway wrecking in the back. Jason Dales and Colin Lindsay on the bottom making contact. And another squeeze as some cars in the back try to avoid it. Jake Thomas is going to go around on the front of 19 car fan Kevin Knight spinning around, and so is Adam Kuhn. And just like Kendall, Kuhn's going to get turned over by the banking. And then there's some more smoke up there at the exit of the turn. See it from a different angle and see if that tells us anything more. This is kind of a full speed version of how this accident progressed. And yeah, Noah Kim's going to turn Ryan Kendall hard into that outside wall. That's still not going to give him the front end damage. We do know there's some more trouble further down the racetrack, we believe. We'll take a look at that next. Is Kuhn going for a wild tumble several times up and over. He's going to go straight over Noah Kim. Unfortunately, he is going to land on all 4 tires. But he just got crunched that car in every way that he could. So Adam Kuhn's day is going to be done. Now let's look a little forward, and there's some contact there between Justin Roback and Alonso. And Shane Borland and I think Donnie Moore might have gotten some contact there. Shane Borland hits the inside wall, or at least the left side wall, and Griffin Lynn also involved in that. It's not incredibly clear how that started. Mike Simpson down there hits the inside wall. Oh, and that's where Harrison gets his contact, as he sends Simpson flying to get on his route, but he will come back down on all fours. And there's that's the heavy impact that Harrison took. Parsons also got involved in that one, so a lot of part-timers involved in this accident. Very few of them getting a good start today. We'll ride on board Jake Thomas from the rear of the field. And he's starting to slow down, trying to get around it, and just a lot of cars shuffling before him, and he's going to plow it straight to the outside wall. See if that is damage that's going to kill his race car. And now we'll ride on board Alexander Rowe. Didn't catch much of him, so let's see if he actually avoids this one. Gets through that first part, and then he's going to get around Noah Kim with the smoke off in the front. He's going to make it off to the right side. What a great dodge by Thunderhawk Motorsports driver. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more racing at 8 Bowl.
Hey guys, what's going on? Hey Reed. Not cool, guys.
Watch your favorite Wrigley's brand chew up the track this season.
Welcome back to 8 Bowl Super Speedway. 11 cars dropping out as a result of the accident. Dwayne Calloway involved in that list, as well as Ryan Kendall and Jack Freeman. We're going to go back to racing on lap number 7. And TJ Ball is able to keep it on the racetrack, but he had to start on the inside line, and Austin Rogers immediately going to try to get by. Ball with some damage, and Jacob Rose trying to see if he can clear him from the outside, and it looks like he's just got enough of a speed advantage to do that. Obviously, the inside line is very much preferred. But now we're going to see what the 62 car does, or what he falls into in terms of getting back up to speed, or giving the field a lot of room. John Gilbert actually went to the high side, and it looks like he didn't trust Ball to get out of the way. So see a gigantic draft just kind of forming up right behind the 62 and trying to see what move they can make to try to get back into the group. Because right now it's really a 2-car breakaway between Rogers and Rose, and it looks like the 16 car is going to try to make a move to the inside and go for the lead. Let's hope that aggressive driving doesn't lead to another accident. Looking at TJ Smith, and he is still serving his probation from Mirage, currently 8th in the points. He's just kind of been up there in inconsistency, having a solid day today. Trying to keep it out of trouble, and at a super speedway, that's not too much of a problem. They're pretty lenient in terms of what can be a penalizable offense. It's got to be pretty obvious if you do that. We also see Craig Martin up here in a pretty good spot. It looks like he's passing up Connor Mays for 3rd and trying to suck back up to the front 2. And Martin's kind of coming to his own as he finally made it into the top 14. Qualified for an Elite Cup Series race at Green Valley. Didn't have a great run there, but trying to see what he can do to continue gaining. Maybe earn his first career win today. Chase Baldwin also having a pretty solid day as he currently runs in 10th place. He actually passed up AJ Jones, that's probably 9th place now. And obviously his season has just been pretty dreadful. His average finish falls at 33.75. His best finish came at Grand Detour last race, which was looking like it was about to be about a top 10, but I think he faded pretty quickly in the final few laps of green flag action. And that kind of brought him down, back down to earth again, but he could be on pace for a solid run today. As we see, Craig Martin has in fact made his way to the lead, as we are now a third of the way through the race. And they're going 4 wide further back. Now looking on board, Kenny Knox, and he's kind of fallen off this draft. He's currently back in 22nd place. Kind of highlighted him earlier on when TJ Ball was holding up the field, but he looks like he kind of lost the draft, and he's trying to get a side draft off the 97 car and try to catch back up to the other packs, but he's going to need to work together with someone or else lose draft completely. Noah Kim kind of involved in a scuffle with Robert Harrison, who eventually dropped out of the race, but it doesn't look like the 38 car has any problems, as he's still up here in the lead pack, trying to make a move to the inside and look for a position. It's a bit surprising that 38 car didn't have at least a little bit of damage. That would have put him a little further back in the pack. Barry Watson up here in the lead pack as well, and he has been one of the best performing part-timers so far this season. Qualified for every race so far, put up a 4th place run at Grand Detour, and looking really stout again, the first winner of the Truck Series at Columbia. Now he's on the high outside, and that's a very bad spot for him to be, especially without the draft. Tries to get back into the second lane in front of Rowe. Now looking at Jacob Rose, saw him in competition for the lead with Austin Rogers, and Rose had a solid start to his season. Put up a nice run at Columbia, but kind of fell off. He was eligible to try to qualify for the Elite Cup Series for the first 2 races, I believe, both of which resulted in a DNQ. Still looking for his first Elite Cup Series start, but that would require him to get back into the top 14 in standings, which he currently is not right now. Arvin Alonso has been in that position and qualified for a few races in Elite Cup Series competition, but as of lately, he's been kind of out of it, and we saw there was a little bit of contact right there with Alexander Rowe. Really glad that didn't result in an accident, and they keep it straight. And Chase Baldwin is up here in the front, and he is going to lead this lap, and that is pretty great for the Eagle Motorsport team, who has really wanted to get this driver back into a competitive position. Kenny Knox has been solid all season long, but still hasn't found victory lane. We'd like to get either of those drivers there as soon as possible. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back, and you won't miss a thing with side-by-side action.
Hey man, you cut me off back there. What you gonna do about it? Oh man.
Can you feel it? The taste of Coca-Cola. When the race
All right,
is over.
fine.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Life favors the bolder. The taste of Coca-Cola.
Are we good? We're good.
Back here at 8 Bull Super Speedway, Chase Baldwin continues to lead on lap number 14, paying attention to Sparky the Sun Devil, who's really made a good charge up here since starting kind of far back in the field in the mid to upper 30s. Now looking to contend, but working all the lanes right now and trying to find a spot to slot in, as it looks like Baldwin's going to be on the outside line now. Craig Martin going to the inside. Joey Radcliffe a little further back is kind of his competition, as he currently runs 15th in the standings, and he's just a point off of Sparky and would really like to start competing for Elite Cup Series races. But he'll have to pass him up and maybe make sure that the rest of the standings don't get shuffled if he wants to start contending and getting a little bit more experience on the track. You see Colin Lindsay back here. He's had a bit of a struggling start to the season, the runner-up of Season 1 in the Elite Cup Series. At the halfway point, he's just holding at the rear of this pack, making sure he doesn't lose them. also trying to stay out of this 3-wide situation for now. He's currently trailing Anthony Lopez. He had a fast time put down in practice. And as long as he can keep to the low lines, that'd be pretty good for him. But at the halfway point, gonna have to start making some moves up front. And there's contact! Jason Thales in the wall, but Colin Lindsay did get some contact there as well as Lopez. And I believe Alonso was part of that as well. And that is going to bring out a caution as Thales spins in turn 3 and 4. And the 80 car had a solid run going, and he's really not had a great season to start off with, and now going to have even more trouble, as his car is pretty torn up and stuck on the banking now. Looks like Connor Mays is going to be the leader, as the pace car will pick up the field this time. So just as we were talking about Colin Lindsay trying to stay out of trouble, looks like the trouble came straight to him, as I saw the two cars up high, which were Alonso and Thales, shoot down the racetrack, and Lopez and Lindsay were the victims of that contact, but both of them on the bottom did not spin around. Only Thales got caught up in the spin. So that will put us under our second caution. I believe that we might see pit stops this time around. No one took pits, or a very limited number of people that were trying to repair damage took pits on the first caution of the day. And as we hit the halfway point, no one has pitted yet, and they're gonna have to pit at some point, so they might as well, because they should be able to make it on fuel since they haven't pitted yet. And it looks like all signs are pointing to people coming down this time. And the 84 is going to lead that charge. What we're hearing from team chatter is that it sounds like most teams are going to go for 2 tires, and it makes a lot of sense because it's a super speedway. Tires not necessarily that important, but also don't want to blow something as well. Kim's already into his stall. Mays coming in as well. Watson is currently still in the top Ford spot right now, and another great run by Watson. But Kim is coming out with 2 tires, and Mays will follow. Oh, and it looks like, oh no, that's Chapman in front of Mays. Going to hold up his teammate a little bit. And Sparky's actually going to come out pretty fast. He's going to have a couple of spots gained. Watson's going to lose 3 spots, though. Sparky gained 1. Martin gained 4. Al Calloway gained 5. But still 2 tires across the board, so really the big strategy on this stop. And it looks like Alonso got into the right rear quarter panel with Thales. And there you can see the major contact made to the sides of those 2 race cars. And that could affect the performance of Lopez and Lindsay. I feel like Alonso might be a little less impacted, but obviously still made that contact. He might have to watch out for his performance the rest of the race. So we're under our second caution of the day, and we will head to another quick commercial break and take you to the end of today's race.
Oh, look at Kyle Busch out there.
Yeah, he is all over the track.
I mean, what has gotten into him today?
Oh, that cannot be good.
Oh, unbelievable.
Whoa, look out.
Wait a minute. Is Kyle in reverse?
Yeah, you don't see that every day. Okay, that is bad driving.
Oh, this is not like Kyle at all.
Are we winning?
I thought you were looking.
M&M's makes race day more fun.
What is Kyle thinking?
11 laps remain when the cars get to the green flag. No one out of the race after that last accident. Jason Thales has gone at least a lap down, however, because he was stuck on the banking, had to get freed up. But they'll see the green flag once again. Oh, and Thales immediately cuts down to the inside of TJ Ball, makes it 3 wide on Connor Mays. Does the 84 car have enough to get around? Thales is still running pretty fast. Mays has finished runner-up twice this season, and he's looking for that first win, but he got held up high, and it looks like Thales is not as slow as we thought he was. They repaired that damage pretty well. Now Sparky holding the lead. as he gets to the inside of the 80 car. We expected a lot more damage on the 80 car, that he was going to hold up the inside line. Really didn't expect him to go to the inside of TJ Ball. That really got Mays held up high. Had he not made that move, it looked like Mays would have made the move to the inside of the 62. And the 1 car wouldn't be out front right now. Sporting the new sponsor, Adidas. But now he's on the high side of 3 wide as Mays makes the move inside, but so does A.J. Jones. Chase Baldwin also down there. Al Calloway is about to get into the inside of the 1 car, and now Sparky's going from 1st to 5th immediately. That 46 car has not had the performance that his brother has. But with Dwayne out of the race, this could be the time for the 46 to capitalize and get the 2nd win for the team this season. Now he's pushing the 84 car ahead. Sparky's got Rogers to his back bumper. John Gilbert's trying to recover. He's been up front for a good part of the race. He's got TJ Ball in front of him, and he's kind of falling away from the draft, and that's not that good for the 31 driver. Obviously, he still has the win to fall back on, but wants to keep himself up in points for as long as he can. Donnie Moore was damaged in that first accident, I believe, and that's why he's also fallen off the draft. And he's going to be in the same boat. He wants to get as many points as he can, but he does have the win from Columbia to fall back on. All of our winners so far this season sitting in the top 4, so 4 winners in the top 4 spots and standings. Moore currently running 22nd, though, as Alonso gets to his inside, and he'll slot back in the line. Well, Kim on the inside, heading into turn number 1, and trying to see if he gets to the inside of Connor Mays. He cannot. Al Calloway leading the race right now. Austin Rogers gets left out to dry. And a good performance today would not just be a good day for the last place in full-timer points, but also the second to last. Kyle Law hasn't had a great season to start off either. He's still a full 24 points ahead of Chase Baldwin, and has had a best finish of 14th place coming at race number 3, but he needs to make up a lot of ground. Alexander Rowe also, he's 3rd to last in the points, a point ahead of Kyle Law. He's also up here in contention as well. So a lot of guys that really struggled to start the season off, staying well in contention in this one, but a lot of heavy hitters as well, as Connor Mays leads the lap. Kenny Knox has a win in the Elite Cup Series, but not the Amateur Cup Series. He doesn't have a playoff berth yet. Looking further back here in the field, and Chris Harley, our hot seat driver, he was obviously involved in the first accident of the day, and he hasn't had a lot to show for it because he has the back end damage. He's back here among the guys who are running off the pace because they can't get their cars up to speed quite as well. And that is a product of super speedway racing. Damage is really not good for these faster racetracks where you barely let off the brake. And that's really affecting Harley's performance right now, but he is your current points leader. He has a very solid lead, and just running around right now is going to be good for him maintaining the points. Looking from the rear bumper, you can see the 2 veteran drivers of the series running side by side. Lindsay will fall back, but Van Arsdale trying to gain some more momentum. He's in the same boat as Colin Lindsay, trying to find his way back to the top 14 in points. In fact, I don't believe Lindsay was ever necessarily there, but he was able to make Columbia, and Van Arsdale has been able to make a couple races this season in the Elite Cup Series. We mentioned A.J. Jones. He was making some noise a few laps ago, and he's been as consistent as you can when you're working in that mid-pack range. 3 finishes have fallen in the 15th or 16th place range, and now trying to break that and grab a top 10, which might be able to push him up into contending for the Elite Cup Series race later today. Now Barry Watson, with 5 laps to go, he finds his way to the lead. Chase Baldwin on the outside and falling back. Watson won the opening truck race at Columbia and has qualified for every Amateur Cup Series race this season. And that's incredibly impressive because it would take a lot for someone who hasn't always had the points lead this year to keep running into these races. But he was able to do it, even though it was in a bit of a controversial fashion this race, with the contact on Clint McComb, who won the race at Twin Ring Motegi last week. Approaching 4 laps to go, Connor Mays retakes the lead. Sparky coming to the inside, Alexander Rowe on the high side. And we see Chris Harley give you an onboard look, because we haven't had a lot of that today. Still trying to run this race out and see where he can slot in. Doesn't mean he doesn't have some competition, as you see Shane Borland go into his inside. Just a rough day for the 49 driver in general, but he still has some positions to run for, and see if he doesn't lose the points lead today. He might still have a shot at keeping it. Jason Dales, we talked about how he was doing all right despite losing a lap, but it does look like he has fallen a little bit off the draft, as most of the pack is starting to pull away from him. It doesn't look like he's going to catch it, and either way, he's still a lap down, and it's not going to make much sense for him to start racing these guys, because we're getting to a point where you either can't unlap yourself and really gain anything, because a caution flag would result in ending under caution at this point. 3 laps to go as they come through. Oh, some contact right there. That's AJ Jones and Noah Kim. The slow car of Ray Chapman coming up. Sparky gets to the outside, and no one else does. And the 1 car out alone right now, as the 25 holding people up. I wasn't sure about the 25 having damage. I didn't know he was that slow, but he has really held up this entire pack. Definitely the low line. A lot of drivers trying to pull to the outside. Kenny Knox is the first one to find his way through. Car in the wall! TJ Smith and Eric Van Arsdale. Kyle Bisceglia also involved. And the caution comes out late in this race. And we're going to see who gets the win. And Joey Radcliffe, he came in there late. And it looks like he had a big impact somewhere, but he's on the pit lane. I believe TJ Smith was the first one to go around. And what it sounds like, it seems that the 1 car did not have to take the caution, while the rest of the field was still behind the start-finish line when the caution came out. And the 1 car is pulling away and still running his lap. And he's going to get the white flag and the caution flag here. And it looks like Sparky's going to take the victory in this one. Well, that was a bit of a bizarre case, as we did not anticipate Ray Chapman coming up. I wonder if the entire field was reacting to that, because we saw a little bit of contact between Noah Kim and AJ Jones. Both of them got loose coming out of turn 2. Yeah, the 1 car, I guess he got so far out of this caution flag that he was able to cross the finish line before everyone else was when that caution came out. The pace car finally picks the field up, which is pretty slim right now. When we see Kevin Knight, he came out of pit lane. I'm not sure what that was from. He must have had an unexpected stop, which it might end up putting him a lap down, which would be a lot of lost spots if he was still running up in front. Although I don't recall really seeing him anywhere else. The field still has yet to catch up, and now here they come. And they're all filed out as well as they can, and in the positions that they're going to assume. But the flagman is waving the checkered flag, and Sparky is going to take the victory here at 8 Bowl. Pretty huge victory for the Ramco team, as that is their second of the year. Clint McComb winning last week in the Truck Series, And it looks like both of the rookie drivers are going to beat out their veteran counterparts up in the Elite Cup Series level. And they're going to claim their playoff berths. Now let's take a look at what happened on the accident. And so it looks like the 67 clipped the 6, but it also looked like at the same time they were really catching up way too fast to the pack that was being held up by Ray Chapman. So the 6 and the 67, I believe, were running behind the main pack and had a big draft coming up that maybe the 6 was slowing down for when the 67 was not. 67 rebounds into Kyle Bisceglia, and that's what turns the 14 car around. And Colin Lindsay gets clipped, and I think he's going to be able to save it, which is a big move for the 95 driver. And he is. As he pulls back on the racing surface, he's going to gain about 3 spots right there. And then here comes another pack of drivers. Okay, now we see coming on the pit lane. Okay, Kevin Knight was trying to avoid the accident with Joey Radcliffe, and he gets turned into the wall. And then Radcliffe's going to take some kind of huge blow right here. Oh, and he hits something right there against the wall. So that is what we saw the 53 get caught up in late in the accident. And that's going to tear up his motor. And that's some pretty big contact. And we talked about how he's trying to get some positions. Not going to work out today. Let's watch from the 67. That was a pretty difficult call. I couldn't tell if the 67 was trying to float up into the upper lane, or if there was some kind of reaction to the pack coming up really quickly. But that's really hard to judge. Could have been both at the same time. Now on board Colin Lindsay as he tries to avoid this one. Wow. If I have to be honest, I believe that if he hadn't been touched by the 67 car, he might have flown right into the 14 and been collected in this accident. So a look at our final finishing results today. Sparky comes home with the victory, the 5th winner out of 5 races this season. Kenny Knox with a pretty heartbreaking 2nd place for a consistent season that he's been having. If that accident didn't happen, he might have had a shot to catch back up with the 1 car in the middle of that pack. Barry Watson with a great finish today, and that is even better than the finish he put up at Grand Detour, which was 4th. He grabs the 3rd place today. Kyle Law and Chase Baldwin, great top 10 performances today for those struggling drivers, and Connor Mays is going to end up 9th. Alexander Rowe also been struggling this season. He comes home in 11th place. Some of the cars involved in that accident, Colin Lindsay, Kyle Bisceglia, Eric Van Arsdale involved in the accident, finishing 14th through 16th, but TJ Smith ends up falling to 21st. A lot of cars getting by at the very last moment, but we do see that Joey Radcliffe did drop out because of the contact he had with the wall, and Kevin Knight ended up going a lap down as he had to ride around pit lane after being shoved onto there. Jake Thomas, coming from the last starting spot on his probation, ends up the last car on the lead lap. And then down here we see TJ Ball ended up 2 laps down, but all of the DNFs coming from the first accident of the day, taking out Dwayne Calloway and involving a lot of part-timers, Ryan Parsons, Dylan Lexton, Mike Simpson, Adam Kuhn, and rounding out the field are a couple of Dodge drivers, Ryan Kendall and Jack Freeman. So we look at the point standings as they stand now, and we still have all 5 of our winners up here in the top 10. Chris Harley continues to hold the points lead despite his pretty mediocre day, but a lot of the winners had struggles today, which means Kenny Knox was able to jump up into 2nd place, although still 23 points behind Harley. Sparky moves up to 8th place after being on the cutoff spot for the Elite qualifying. And Barry Watson, just like we've seen Dwayne Calloway do in the Elite Cup Series, Watson up here in 10th place and putting up amazing performances as of the last 2 races to move himself up there. Moving down a little bit, we see that because Watson is up there, the 15th place spot is the cutoff. Colin Lindsay tied with Eric Van Arsdale at 70 points back, but Lindsay has the tiebreaker right now, which means he's going to be able to try to qualify for the Elite Cup race here at 8 Bowl later today. In addition to Lindsay making it back in, AJ Jones and Jacob Rose will also rejoin the top 14 in the full-timer standings to try to attempt for Elite Cup Series competition. In the midpoint part of the standings, we see Kyle Law was able to jump all the way up to 25th place, and Alexander Rowe now up to 28th. Joey Radcliffe's late trouble is going to push him all the way back to 23rd after he was trying to find his way into the top 14. And Chase Baldwin's going to be able to leapfrog all of the part-timers that he was behind and finally get back into competing with some of the full-timers, just 2 points back of Andy Coleman, who was involved in the accident, and Mike Simpson and Adam Kuhn behind him. We'll see if the momentum will keep up with the 35 car for the rest of the season. We take a look at the team standings now in Ramco Motorsports with the win of Sparky, making its way to the top. Callaway Brothers Racing's filling up second place, as Al Callaway did have a solid day, but Dwayne Callaway crashing out, 9.5 points back. Jones Smith Racing had a solid day with AJ Jones up there in the top 10. They were 11.5 points back. And a quick look at the cars that the top 14 drivers in part-time qualifying will be running. A lot of the same cars that we've seen these guys run in previously, but Kenny Knox is actually going to take over the 93, and Dwayne Callaway going back to the 3, which is what he ran in the opening race at Columbia. Noah Kim's going to hold the 14th seat as TJ Smith goes back to the 75. AJ Jones is going to take up the 21 car, which he ran in the first race, and Jacob Rose in the 95 car. So that is going to do it from 8 Bull Superspeedway in the Amateur Cup Series. We've got Elite Cup Series racing action coming up very soon, and we'll see who's going to be able to take the checkered flag over there. From NFRN and RVN, my name is Colin Denton. Thank you for joining us for today's racing, and we hope to see you next time when we go to Pigs Speed Dome.